Are you coming to Hiriketiya and are you looking for a remote work-friendly place to stay? Let me show you around our Homebase Coliving in Hiriketiya. Homebase is a co-living in the south of Sri Lanka, and it's only a 7-minute walk away from the surf beach. And yes, I timed it. We have 6 rooms, 2 kitchens, 1 co-working, a dining area, a huge garden, and an amazing team that is going to make sure that you have everything you need while you stay with us. I'm Lizzie, a freelance UX designer and digital nomad, and I first came to Hiriketiya for the surf. And then I met Lucky. He's a local surf instructor here, and together we started the Homebase Coliving. And this video is going to give you a little look at the Homebase Coliving right now, how it started and how it's going. So let's dive in. Hiriketiya is a town in the south of Sri Lanka, and it became famous after the surf bay was discovered. It looks like a little horseshoe, and it has the perfect conditions for any surfer. On the spot, you have the pro surfers, and in the middle, you have very soft, gentle waves for beginners. And the nice thing here is you can actually learn surfing on the green waves. When I first came here, there were a couple restaurants and cafes, but not crazy many, and there were a couple of nice accommodations and also some co-livings already. And what I loved was that wherever you go, it felt like you're so connected to nature because there are so many animals, and you would just go for a stroll and it felt like every day was a safari. You see monkeys, but you also get them in Thailand and Bali. But here, they don't care about you. They don't try to steal your food or your sunglasses or anything. They just do their own thing, and it's so nice to watch. You have the lizards, which I found a little bit scary if they come a little close, but usually as soon as they notice you're coming, they disappear. I also really love the peacocks here. It's so beautiful. I remember one surf, I saw one peacock fly from one side of the bay across the other, and it was so beautiful. And you also get to see turtles while you're surfing, which it's just so nice here. And it's not even 2 years ago when I first came here, and Hiri has already changed a bit. I feel like every time I'm going away and I come back, there's a new hotel or there's another construction site. There's a lot of trees that are being cut to make space for the houses, which also means that the animals are being pushed away. But on the other hand, it's good for the locals because this town hosted many fishermen, and that was the main source of income, is offering tourism, which is great for the locals and their economy, and it gives them more opportunity. So when I first came here, there were a couple of co-livings already and a few cafes. And some of them were good, some of them not so much. And I wrote a whole blog article. Also, some of the roads that used to just be mud roads now have been, how do you call it, asphalted, like they're now proper roads. But yeah, the downside of it, as nice as it is to see that the economy is getting better here, it also means that the nature takes its cut, literally. There are trees cut every day, but the government noticed this issue and it jumped in. The beach was full back to back with surf schools and juice bars and small restaurants and sunbeds. And they now said the beach has to be free. From a certain distance from the ocean to the land, there's not allowed to be any sunbeds, any surfboards, etc. And they also got rid of some of the wooden huts that people built to have restaurants by the sea because it blocked the people's views. So before you could just go by the beach and see the beautiful bay, but after they built all of these huts, the only way to actually see the nice view was to sit in those restaurants and consume. So it made it less accessible for the tourists. So all of this is gone now, and the beach looks like it's beautiful. But again, a lot of locals that have turned from being fishermen to having their surf business and restaurants, etc., lost their source of income from one day to the other. And in Sri Lanka, that doesn't mean that just the business owner lost their source of income. It's the whole families, because here one person pays for their parents, there's kids, their brothers and sisters and cousins. So just be aware of that when you come to Sri Lanka. Also, where possible, try to support the local businesses. Like, I know I'm a foreigner in Sri Lanka. My partner is a local, but there are a lot of restaurants and bars that are foreign owned. They're not bad. Like La Playa is owned by an Australian. Salt House is also an Australian person, I think. Malupok as well. And I do believe that they pay their staff well. But where possible, try to support the local restaurants, the local cafes, the local hotels. So what about the other co-livings in Hiriketiya? So when I first came to Hiriketiya, it was kind of a spontaneous last-minute decision. So I ended up staying in more or less all the co-livings that existed at that time. The first place I stayed at was Wulevu, and it closed down since, and I'm kind of glad about it because it was a terrible place. Considering I paid $65 a night there, it was really not a good co-living. The room was moldy. Every single time I charged my laptop or my phone, I got like a little electric shock. And then I also heard from a friend that while she was working in the co-working with her friend, while she'd plugged in her laptop, she got such a bad electric shock that she actually was thrown away on the room and like was on the floor shaking for a bit. I mean, she's fine, thank God. But like, that place for the amount of prices it charged for the non-existing safety. Also, the mold was like there were both mold and termites. The ceiling was crumbling because the termites were eating through the ceiling. And every single time I came back to the room, there was some white stuff on the bed because of the stuff from the ceiling. And yeah, it closed down. I think they now have a new owner. So maybe it's worth giving it a shot. I don't think it's officially a co-living. I think it's just a hotel. But I heard from someone else who stayed there that it was okay. And then I also stayed at Clicks, which I actually quite liked. I only stayed there for like 3-4 days, so I didn't really feel much of the community there. But I liked the design of the rooms, I liked the location. But unfortunately, they closed last week. I mean, for us, it's good because it means less competition, and they were really, really good. And it's not that it didn't work out. They actually were quite successful. But now the owners open another business in, I think, Ahangama, and they have their focus there. And that's why they closed down Clicks. Another one is Verse Collective. They don't want to be called a co-living. They're actually just a co-working, but they do have rooms, they have a restaurant, but they don't have that community vibe. And when I stayed there, even when I came back later as a guest just to use the co-working space, which is around $5 a day to use if you're not living there, I just never felt that I fit in. The way I felt when I come in there, it's a bit like, oh, who are you? Why are you here? Like you don't belong here. And it's just a bit uncomfortable. The Wi-Fi is great. They don't have AC. They have a lot of ventilation, so it doesn't feel too hot, but it does get hot. But there was not that much community vibe. Also, when I stayed there, I stayed in one of the private rooms. I say private because the ceiling wasn't covering the whole room, so it was completely open. You could hear everything. If the person next door was calling their mom, you heard the whole conversation. You hear all the noise from the nature, which is nice, but also the cars. There was basically no ceiling, which I didn't expect when I booked the room. And since I've been a digital nomad since several years, I think it's almost 5 years now, I mean, like every nomad does, sooner or later talk about opening their own co-living. And when I saw the co-livings here, some of them not being too bad, some of them being terrible, I thought like, oh, this place needs a proper co-living. And yes, there is like Dots, which is an accommodation. They have a pool, they're by the beach, but they have music all the time. It's more like a party place than a workplace. They do have a co-working area where the AC is freezing cold. So if you end up working there, bring like a little jacket or jumper because it's freezing inside. And you can meet some people there. I met a couple people just working from the co-working. But again, it wasn't the co-living atmosphere that I was looking for. So when I met Lucky and I really liked Hiriketiya. I loved that I could just stroll out and surf, which is the thing that I miss in Thailand. We were talking about it and then we're like, okay, let's do it. And it went super, super fast. I mean, we only met in January and then in September we had the keys to the co-living. But yeah, I thought it's one thing constantly talking about opening a co-living. It's another thing actually doing it. So we did. And so far, I think it's working out well. We had a couple of reviews on Google, which I'm so happy are all 5-star reviews. Also, the guests are super, super nice. Like, we're so lucky with the guests we got. They're so chilled because Sri Lanka, you still have power cuts and it's more regular than in Europe. Like in Europe, you might have one once a year or something, whereas here you have it several times a year. And it really depends on if they're currently doing some works with the electric system, etc. They usually announce it, but sometimes it happens that you get an unannounced power cut. We do have a battery for the Wi-Fi, but it means that if you didn't charge your laptop or something, it can be a bit tricky. There are other places nearby in walking distance where you can go that have a generator and the Wi-Fi is working, so that's fine. You can most of the times use your mobile data, but that's another thing to keep in mind when you come to Sri Lanka. It's still a developing country. It's not like when you go to Japan or Chiang Mai or to Lisbon, where you can rely that you have 24/7 electricity. But that's also one of the things I like here because you have to find a workaround on things and it's not too comfortable. You're a little bit out of your comfort zone, but you're not completely out of your comfort zone. So even when we had those power cuts, our guests never complained. They were like, oh yeah, it's Sri Lanka. It's like, so I really love the place that we created, the guests that we had. We're so lucky with the type of guests we had. I love the team and I love the town. So what actually is a co-living? Personally, I think it picks the best things from hotels, hostels, and a co-working space. So often in a hotel, you have a nice accommodation, you have private bathrooms, but then you don't have that much of a community. So if you travel and you stay in a hotel, it's very hard to meet other travelers and make friends. Whereas in a hostel, you stay with so many other people, you become friends very easily, you find travel buddies very easily. But then on the other hand, again, you share the room, you don't really have that luxury, and you often have people that party all the time, so maybe you don't have good sleep. Whereas in a co-living, you get the good of both sides. You get the community from a hostel, and you get the luxury of a hotel with like your private bed, a private bathroom. And on top of that, a co-living for digital nomads has a co-working space. So we have a co-working space upstairs. Now we have 6 proper desks. 4 of them have ergonomic chairs. We also have a kitchen. We have a washing machine. So you have everything that you need from a place to stay. You don't have to figure out, okay, where am I going to get food? You can just cook it, even though there are a lot of great restaurants in walking distance. You also don't have to figure out where you're going to do your laundry because we have a washing machine, all of these kind of things. So it's really a home. It's a place where you can stay for a couple of weeks, maybe even months. Like our longest guest was here for 3 months, and hopefully one of our guests is going to return next year, and she's most likely going to stay for 4 months. It's more like a home rather than just a quick hotel to stay in. And the first time I heard about co-livings was only like 4 years ago when I was considering becoming a digital nomad, but I wasn't sure because you have so much planning to do, where to stay, how to get there, is there going to be a proper desk, etc. And then someone told me just book a co-living because you always have everything in a co-living. And you do. Like when you come here, you have your room. We have 3 rooms with a private bathroom. The other 3 rooms share 2 bathrooms. We have 2 kitchens, 1 on each floor. Again, the washing machine. And we have great staff that know Hiriketiya and that also know how to get from here to, let's say, Ella, back to Colombo. They can give you great restaurant recommendations. If you want to know, like, okay, where is good coffee, or where should I go for dinner tonight? They can give you great recommendations, so you don't have to spend hours researching. You just arrive here and everything's going to get sorted for you. So let me show you around the home base. When you arrive, you will first see the big house probably, but you'll also notice the entrance, which is this big blue gate. I only just made the signs a couple of months ago, so I hope it lasts through the weather and rainy season. It took me like 2 months to figure out that you don't always have to slide the gate open. You do have a door where you can enter. And many guests struggled with that, so that's also why we have that sign here. And then when you come in, you see the garden. We have a seating area here. This is the smoking area as well, because it's very typical in Sri Lankan houses because of the high humidity to have a lot of ventilation. So if you were to smoke right in front of the house, all the smoke smell goes all the way in. You can even smell it at the back of the kitchen, which is why we put the smoking area further away from the house. We also have a parking spot over there. Most of the people park right in front of the house. And when we were discussing where we should put the roof, everyone's like, oh, it's going to look ugly. And I was like, yeah, but everyone's going to park here. And yeah, now we put the roof somewhere else. Everyone's still parking there, even though we have a sign here. But yeah, the official parking area is over there. We also have some surfboards here, which are from Lucky Surf School. And you can rent those boards. And then we have a seating area right outside the house. Also, this ornamental thing is a very typical Sri Lankan thing. It's not what I would have gone for, but it was already here, so we kept it like this. You'll also see our mural, which was already here as well, and we thought, oh, that's perfect because we're a surf co-living. And then when you enter, you see the reception. You're most likely going to be meted by some of our staff if they're not currently busy working in the garden, in the kitchen, or doing the rooms, or talking to our guests. The other day I caught them calling all of our past guests because they missed them, because currently it's low season, so not all the rooms are full, which is a bit unfortunate for the people that are coming now, because you miss out a little bit on the community vibe if not all the rooms are booked. Unfortunately, people only come to Hiriketiya for the surfing, but also in low season it's pretty nice. Like, I've been here, it's June, and I've been here for a week, and yes, it rains every now and then, but it's not rain for days. It rains for like, let's say 10-20 minutes, and actually less than that, and then it stops again, and then you can continue with your day. And in a way, I like it because you don't have that much FOMO. You actually feel like, oh, it's okay to work. It's okay to sit on your desk because you're not missing out on the waves right now, or you're not missing out on having a beach day. Then when you come into the reception, you have our plants. We have a notice board with everything that's usually going on. So if we have a Skillshare event or a current night event, we also write it down on the notice board. And if there's anything interesting in the area, like Rip Urbana having another event, or marketplace, or if there's karaoke night, etc., you'll see it on the board. And you'll also see which of our staff members is working today and who is off. We also have this board of past guests. We ran out of Polaroids. But yeah, you'll see some of the guests that stayed here several times, some of the returning guests, or those that stayed here for like more than 2 weeks, 3 months. This is Marek. He was our first guest. He's a friend of mine, and he messaged me about tips on Sri Lanka, and that he was going to come in mid-September. And I was like, we don't have Wi-Fi yet. We literally just have a bed in the rooms, but if you want, you can stay with us. And he did. So that was super nice. Also to test it, like to see what it's like to have guests, and that we started our first day with a guest already. That was super amazing. Room room 1 is one of our rooms with the shared bathroom. So we do have air condition, you have a place to hang your clothes, some storage, and we did have a few guests that work American time zones, and they asked if it was possible to have their own desks because they felt a little bit uncomfortable using the co-working space in the middle of the night to have more crossover with the American time zone. And we do have foldable tables that you can just put into the rooms. At the moment, we have 2 rooms that have a desk by default. We're going to put another one in room 5. So if you don't want to work in a co-working space, let's say you have a private call or you have to work in a time zone where you work late at night and you don't want to make too much noise in the co-working space, you can work from your room. That's no problem at all. Then when you continue walking, you see the dining area. Here are some flowers that Lucky got me. Under the stairs, we used to have this built-in wardrobe, and it just didn't look great. It was also full of wood termites, and also we didn't want to use it for storage because 1, the wood termites, and 2, it was a bit of an odd smell. So I don't know how long those doors have been closed, but it wasn't a great thing. And I also thought like this is one of the first things people see when they come to the home base. So I wanted it to be like more open and clean. So we decided to get rid of the wood, and luckily the homeowners agreed. So like we don't own the land, we are just renting it. So everything we have to like confirm with the owners of the house first. We're quite happy with how we made things. So yeah, we removed the things under the stairs, and now it's a little bit more open. I think it makes the room a little bit brighter. The table that we currently have there, we pull out for the curry nights. And then here you have room 2, which is one of our private bathrooms. It's the smaller one, which have a private bathroom, which is why it's also a little bit cheaper. I'm not a big fan of the tiles. We had guests who loved the tiles. I'm not the biggest fan of the Sri Lankan design style. I think a lot of it is just practical, but I think it could be also beautiful if they would try a little bit harder. It doesn't just have to be practical, it can also be pretty. But again, it's a rental, so we were like, okay, we'll leave the tiles and everything as is and try to do the best with that. But some people really like it. We also put the exhauster fans in because of the humidity here, so it's very important. Here you also have a foldable table. We have the wardrobe here. And one of the features I like in this room, we didn't have space for a bedside table. And it was a little, like at the beginning, the bedside table was just at the bottom of the bed. So it's a little bit annoying if you just want to charge your phone, etc. You always have to get up and you have to crawl across the bed to get your phone. So we put in this little shelf thing in the back, and we put some plug sockets there. We also have a dehumidifier. Again, humidity. Like, I don't know how people can sleep in moldy rooms. I don't know how people offer moldy rooms for others. I had asthma as a child, so I'm very much like, no, it's not good for health. If you stay 1 or 2 nights in a room, maybe it's okay, but I just don't feel comfortable offering moldy rooms to people. So that's why we have the dehumidifier. That's why I'm always talking about ventilation. But yeah, unfortunately, because of the high humidity here, it's always an issue. And every now and then it pops up somewhere and it's like, where's the bleach? So far, we managed to keep everything under control. And while I was traveling, I stayed in a couple of places in Bali, in Thailand, etc. And then I go into the room and it's like, this smells moldy. I don't want to stay here. Because I usually don't just stay a couple of nights. I usually stay somewhere for like 2 months or something. And that's just too long for me to stay in the moldy room. And then the guests, the host would usually be like, oh, that's Thailand, that's the Philippines, that's Bali, like that's how it is. And it's like, it doesn't have to be like this. Like, yes, it's more easy for it to develop, but you don't need to have moldy rooms. You can treat it, you know. So yeah, so that's what we're doing. Then we have room number 3, which is one of our bigger rooms. You can sleep hours and hours here. It's also at the back side of the house, so it's a little bit more quiet because it's away from the road. We also have this nice Sri Lankan chairs. We also got this table made. The other thing is, for the furniture here, it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be to just find nice looking furniture. Either it's crazy expensive, like you would pay more than double of what you would pay in Europe for a simple bedside table because those things are either imported, or you find something that is low quality, or it's, again, practical but not beautiful. So in the end, I went to Thailand, I went to IKEA, and I brought everything on the plane from IKEA. So I literally had the IKEA flat pack and just bought extra kilos for my luggage and brought it over with my mom. Once alone, once with my mom, once one of my friends was in Thailand and she brought some IKEA carpets and stuff. And it's like, yeah, so it's not that easy to find nice stuff here, but I think we managed. Then at the back of the house, you have the kitchen. It's a bit dark, but it kind of has to be because before there was just this net, but we had a lot of monkeys that were crawling through. They would sneak into the kitchen as soon as there was like some sort of fruit visible to them, and they would just come too much. So we talked to the homeowner if there was any solution we could do for avoiding that there's going to be more monkeys coming. And then they just like put wood everywhere. And it's practical. It's not beautiful. Maybe we could have done something with cinnamon sticks or something else, but I mean, it solved the problem. It's just a rental, so we'll deal with that. So yeah, in the kitchen, you have a lot of pots and pans, you have condiments, you have oil, spices, everything you need. We also have a blender, which is very important because I love making smoothie bowls here. And we also use the blender for our Skillshare event, where we usually offer smoothie bowls, chia bowls, things like that. And let's go upstairs. Upstairs, we have the co-working space. We had the desks custom made, and it's breaking my heart a little bit because those desks lasted not even 2 months before they started cracking, because we hired a carpenter who oversold and underdelivered and made us pay teak wood prices for average wood, and that wood is still moving even after it's treated, etc. So that's why we have the cracks. But yeah, for now we use that. Then we finally found a really, really good carpenter. He made us these desks. I really like the weaving style, but it can get a little bit expensive. So here we faked it a little bit. So I bought some stuff again from Thailand over here, and we just tucked it onto the furniture. But I think it looks good. We didn't have enough, which is why we have 2 different colors. We didn't have enough from just one color, but I actually think it turns out quite well. So when you come upstairs, you have this seating area. This was also a built-in cupboard. So this was beautiful jackfruit, and you could see craftsmanship behind it, but it was again full of termites. So it wasn't great. And also it took a lot of space. We wouldn't have been able to put something inside because of the termites. It would be odd to put a desk right in front of it. And we double checked with the homeowners. They were happy for us to remove it. Turns out it's a cement wall that was not wood. And so we couldn't remove it. So that frame was still left, and we're like, what do we do with it? Well, how can we use this space efficiently? And I was initially thinking of putting like a high, like bar stools there, and people could sit there. Maybe we could have turned that into phone booths. But again, it's a rental. We only just started. So we're like, okay, what's the best thing we can do with the possibilities we have, with the budget we have? So we decided to just get a pillow made and turn it into a seating area. And before we had those IKEA desks there, now we have those nice rattan desks there. It looks pretty nice. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the outcome of it. Behind that, we have room 4, which is our budget room. It's the only room that doesn't have AC, and it's our only twin room. These beds were also the ones that we had made from the same carpenter who did the desk in the front. We also initially had the tucked fake weaving, but as they say, if you pay cheap, you pay twice. And it didn't last long because, of course, people would lean behind the bed, and then it would kind of unravel, and it just didn't look great. It wasn't comfortable anymore. So we decided, okay, let's get the proper weaving done. I'm glad we did. We also put the storage behind the bed. So because this is a twin room, we actually need extra storage. So these beds have drawers, and you can put your suitcase or backpack behind the bed and your stuff on the countertop. And then you have also a space to hang your clothes. And we have a very strong fan here. Room number 4 and room number 5 shares the bathroom in the hallway, and room number 5 is another big room, but because it has the shared bathroom, we're not charging that much for it. So if you want big space, but you don't mind to share your bathroom, this room would be perfect for you. You have a nice wardrobe here. We also wanted to make sure that every room has somewhere where you can actually hang up your clothes. At the moment, we don't have a desk here, but it's gonna come soon. This room will be perfect if you have a lot of private calls, also because it's upstairs, which is where our router is. Then we have our kitchen upstairs with a water dispenser, another fridge. And then you have room number 6, which is usually the room that Lucky and I stay in. This one and room 3 are more or less the same size. This one is literally above room 3. Again, we have AC, we have a private bathroom here. So those are our rooms. For the co-working space, we have pretty fast Wi-Fi. I just did a quick test as well to double check if it's actually what they promised, and it's working well. So what do we do at the home base to make sure that there's a good community? So one thing, and that's pretty simple, introduce each other. So we have a WhatsApp group. Every time there's a new guest coming, we add them to the group and let the other guests know that someone has joined and how long they're roughly going to stay. And every 2 weeks, and depending on demand, we also offer curry nights. There, Darinder is going to teach all the guests, and they can also bring friends that they met in Hiriketiya or other people that are visiting to the curry night. We'll cook together. We usually decide before what of the recipes we cook, because the first curry nights we either made way too much food. We never made not enough food, but usually we cook way too much and then we have to throw a lot away, which isn't great. So now we decide a handful of different dishes. Usually it's rice and curry, or it's kottu, fried rice. Then we sometimes have desserts like vattelaplan and curd. Once we made egg hoppers, the menu is flexible. So it depends on who's joining and if the guests have any specific preferences on what dishes they want to cook. And then we're all in the kitchen. Usually Dinani ends up doing some dance moves and singing, and it's super nice. It's a lot of fun. So far, it's always amazing. If you opt for anything, I highly recommend that you try the jackfruit curry because oh my God, it's so good. One of the other events we're doing is the Skillshare event. And that was the idea of one of our guests, Terry. We were talking about it, but like I was always like, oh, I would like to do this, I would like to do that. But I never really make the time for it because I'm working full time on my UX freelance gigs. And then I'm also doing the home base. So it's always a bit hard to like do the marketing and like seeing if there's an interest and demand for it. And then Terry was like, oh, I'm going to leave next week. Can we do it Thursday? And then within 2 days, we planned this and we found 4 speakers. One of them was Terry. He made a talk about AI. I did a talk about freelancing. Anyone can share any skill. It doesn't have to be business related. It can be about, for example, how do you knit? How do you find a cheap flight or things like that? I'm still trying to convince Nilani to do a Skillshare class on Sri Lankan dance. She likes to teach our guests individually every now and then. I've seen that, but I think she's a little bit shy to do it in front of a crowd, but maybe, who knows, one day. And there we also allow external guests, but because we don't have that much space in the co-working, we're limited to like 15 to 20 guests. And it's not like a big stage, there are no slides. So it's a very cozy environment. It's like a 15-20 minute talk that often ends into a conversation with some Q&A afterwards. After 2 speakers, we have a bit of a break to have the smoothie bowls and networking. Then we have 2 more speakers. And then at the end of the day, people can continue using the co-working space. Also, the external guests can stay and they can just linger around as long as they want. At the moment, we're trying to see if we can get a yoga shala here. It doesn't have to be for yoga. I think Hiriketiya has enough yoga places. There's also Rise, which is a great yoga place because from that yoga shala, you have a view to the temple. So it's like a very calm, nice atmosphere there. I call it a yoga shala, but actually it's going to be for events like the Skillshare, and maybe we can do other things. Maybe we move the curry night out there as well. So if you have any recommendations for events that you would like to see at the home base, you can also leave that in the description. So what makes the home base so special? I mean, of course, I am very biased because for me, this is like a little baby. It's something like this co-living idea that has been brewing in my head. I mean, it's not really an idea. Every nomad talks about it eventually, you know. It finally came to fruition. We planted that seed and now it's here. And we've not even been open a year. And we had some amazing guests. Like we made great memories at this place. We became good friends with the staff members. Actually, team. I don't just want to call them staff. Like they're part of this. Like we're all one team. And yeah, it's super, super nice. But because I'm so biased, I thought I'm just going to show you what our guests are saying. So Johan was one of our guests and it was the first co-living he stayed in. And one thing that I really liked that he said was the home base is creating unforgettable memories. He once said to me privately even like it's a memory factory, and I found that so beautiful. Tamara was here for I think 1.5 months, something like that. And she's also from the hospitality, and it's so funny because I knew she was from Austria and she knew Lucky because she managed a different hotel in Hiriketiya and would send all the guests that wanted to have a surf class to Lucky. And somehow she ended up staying with us. It turns out she comes from the same town as me because I asked like at some point we were talking like, oh, where in Austria are you from? And she was like, do you know Baden? And I'm like, wait. And then we went to the same school just for years apart. So that was like a very like, how crazy is it that you meet another Austrian in Sri Lanka who then even went to the same school as you? So that was like a funny coincidence. I teared up when I read that review. Then we had Rada who was talking about that this is the co-living that Hiriketiya needs. And now that Clicks has closed and that Voulez-Vous also closed, I think we're actually only co-living. So it's probably good that we fill that gap in the market. Then we had Gabby, who was actually staying somewhere else, but she had like a bad experience with the accommodation that she stayed. And she had a surf lesson with Lucky, who then told her about the home base. And then she stayed with us and then stayed for over a month. And that was also super nice. Personally, I think the home base is a great place to stay. Again, I'm very biased, but Hiriketiya in general is super nice because especially here you can walk almost anywhere. You're very quickly by the beach. You have the great balance of being able to just pop out in your lunch break to have a quick surf, come back, have a shower, continue working, meet your friends and other people in nice restaurants, have fries and curry. So this was a little walkthrough through the home base. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're thinking of coming to Sri Lanka and working remotely from Hiriketiya, I'll add the link in the description of how you can book with us. If you have any questions about the home base, also drop them in the description and I'm happy to answer them for you. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, just give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe. And hopefully I'll see you at the home base one day. Bye!